Going into the next video, this is going to be from our homie, it's KMD, who is here all the time, mostly known for demo and unknown gameplay. They're making a video today talking about, please stop being stubborn with licenses. I do not know their personal feelings on the license situation with Dead by Daylight or how they could potentially be stubborn with it, but I'm sure they're going to let us know. But before we do that, make sure that you click on that link that just showed up in the in the Twitch chat above my head. If you're on the YouTube in the future, it'll be down in the description below to make sure you support the official release of the video, or else you are a freeloader. Or freebooter, as that one person put that one time, which was really weird. But yeah, let's see what they have to say about it.
Welcome, people of the internet. It's me, KMD. I know I
that's
wasn't
the
here for a
Demogorgon.
while, but I had to take a short detox from DBD from the fact that I was frustrated by it. So, recently, as if you could notice...
Don't talk about that! I have to ban people because of it. I have to ban people because of them doing that to them. Like, it floods into my zone, where I have to help police that. Because the people are so silly. Like, why don't I... Like, I'm having to deal with it, and it's not even my channel! So weird.
The chapter was announced for Dead by Daylight, and I am quite annoyed because of the reaction of the community to this announcement. Because people are angry at the fact that DBD announced a chapter that isn't from a license, that is purely horror related, which is just plain and simple wrong, and I'm going to explain why.
It is wrong, because at this point, this game has been alive. This video game is going to be 8 years old. You gotta diversify to stay alive. like at a certain point, like, there are certain licenses that are horror that we can't get, and we gotta diversify a bit. We gotta do something. Like, it's just, it's silly to expect them to never branch out, ever. Like, the game's been going on for so long that they gotta do something eventually that's not exactly along the same lines of what they started off with.
In this video, I got some bullet points. I'm not writing any long scripts because I suck at writing scripts, it takes too much time, and I think that writing bullet points will help with quality of my videos. We'll see. Okay, let's begin.
Arrow points?
So,
bullet points?
Most people in the DBD community
like
want licenses that are purely horror related, which I think is a flawed way of thinking. When I say majority of people in the DBD community, I say the loud minority on Twitter that gets angry when a license that is being added to DBD isn't the license that they are a fan of or they want to be in the game. And if it's anything but the thing that they want, they get angry, they say vile stuff sometimes because there was a situation in which a Twitter user...
Usually, this comes from the fact that people wanted something and they didn't get it. So they're going to just, like, devalue what was put out because it's not what they wanted. So filter for colorblindness? I think this is reshade filters for KMD in specific. They're not, here's the can tell us, but I'm pretty sure this is just actual reshade. Good to see you, Hart. Hopefully you're well.
Said that
I agree with that, guys.
The DBD community.
Fallout 3 filter.
And
hey, I like that game. I like the filter Fallout 3. I know it's a hot take.
I'll give you time to Google it and figure out what this term means in slang, because I don't want to say it on YouTube because I don't want to risk my video being taken down.
Smart.
But you most likely can deduct what that means. So I personally think that this part of the community has a closed head on horror, because
I mean, you can't have Knight in the game who is like dark fantasy and then introduce a IP with dark fantasy and be like, these don't fit together.
Getting like horror characters from specifically only horror media, horror franchises, then it isn't a Hall of Fame of horror. Why? Because a Hall of Fame of horror includes everything that is horror or nothing that is horror. There's no in between. If you're making a Hall of Fame of horror, you need to have everything horror in it. Doesn't matter if it's from a license that's purely horror, doesn't matter if it's a non-horror license that has horror elements, it does not matter. So, DBD, adding D&D, which is a non-horror license by default, is a good thing.
I feel like it's so silly because, like, D&D is everything. D&D is an epic. It is horror. It is like feel good. It's everything because it's a format at which people create their own stories and can create any sort of story that they want. So to say, oh, well, it doesn't fit. you can do anything with it, and there's so much in like the material that is horror, like zombies, ghosts, lich. Here he is, fuck no. Skeletons, zombies, vampires, like Dracoliches. Those are cool. Those are very, very cool. That's it. Just kind of shows you don't understand what you're talking about. Yeah.
It has a lot of horror elements in it that can be used in a DBD chapter, and by default, it should be included in DBD as a part of Hall of Fame of Horror. And there's also a second argument of DBD moving on from horror and going into a sellout phase like Fortnite. And most of the examples are cosmetics, which is already a message from me. Cosmetics.
Can we go on a limb here? Say something kind of spicy. If that does not directly impact the quality of our game, why does that matter? If they quote-unquote sell out. I hear this brought up a lot in so many different spheres. Like, oh, they're sellouts. Like, what does that mean? Why does that matter? Like, it feels like just kind of like weirdly gatekeepy and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There could be things that I'm missing here. People love that. That's a good example of deceptive. That is music. Not technically horror. Inspired by horror, especially Slipknot. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Don't provide gameplay content besides
as long as the
skins,
things that they implement are cool, like, doesn't matter.
As examples of DBD moving away from horror, because yeah, no shit, Naughty Bear isn't horror by default, no way. Or Rainbow Six Siege isn't horror by default. Congrats, Sherlock. So outside of cosmetics, people give you the example of Trickster and Scarechant, or School Merchant if you don't get the shortcut. Why is Trickster fine as a killer in Dead by Daylight? And
I've never understood this. Trickster fits into that like Patrick Bateman, like wolf in sheep's clothing kind of character, and always has. I delete. Happy holiday, friend. Thank you for the funny X-Files. X-Men are cool too, but X-Files jingle. Hopefully you're well today. Yeah, like Trickster it totally has a archetype in horror. Like I don't understand why he's never fit. Like he's always been like on the verge of like killing somebody, being a murderer, but like he's lived his whole life like avoiding it until like the opportunity presented itself. Like that's literally one of the most popular horror movies, well, satirical horror movies of all time. It is about that. It's somebody doing the exact same thing. So I don't know why that hasn't fit. Skull Merchant is just the idea works, but it's executed poorly. The idea of an opulent killer that just does not care about human life in any way or regard, who just uses her financial background to just kill those people more efficiently. It's like scary, right? Like that's like just the, oh, your life means nothing. You're my plaything. You're my toy. I don't care. Like that kind of like dissociation with reality is really scary. But it's married to, oh, I'm cosplaying my father's dark manga and look at my bedazzled mask on top of it, which is like, it muddied the waters a bit, to say the least. So, yeah.
And why All Kill is a horror chapter. There's 2 points to Trickster. Lore and mad artist horror. Now, Pixel Blues really explained well the situation with Scarechant and Trickster being in the Hall of Fame of Horror. I will be using his points in this video from his Twitter reply, so if you want to read it yourself, I will link it in the comments, if I don't forget about it. But you will see the screenshots on the screen, so don't worry about that. So, why is Trickster fitting in DBD? Even if some people may not like it, a K-pop star that is using screams of his fans.
I'm going to say this. I feel like the reason most people don't like Trickster is because they don't like K-pop as itself, just as a subject, is either heavily loved or heavily hated. So to make a character based around that means you're going to get people saying stuff like, oh, it doesn't fit because they don't like K-pop, or saying, oh, it absolutely does fit without, you know, really considering anything because they like, oh, I stan BTS, you know, like, so I feel like there's just a second layer to that that is also going on in the background that influence this conversation, if that makes sense.
That he kills in his music, and an artist that kills his co-workers in a fire in his studio to grow his career is unfortunately a prime example of mad artist horror. What is mad artist horror? Well, it's a trope in horror in which an artist, like a singer, like a musician, abuses their popularity and all to basically grow their career in ways that are mostly purely illegal by the fact that murder is not legal.
Murder's not legal?
Places around
What?
the earth. It's not every single place around the earth. So Trickster is a fine example of a homage to mad artist horror. Like Black Swan, like Neon Demon, like Suspiria, like these horror thrillers. So Trickster is fine as a killer in Dead by Daylight, and All Kill is a good chapter in terms of theming. Now,
well, if it's supposed to be like a Hall of Fame, like we're referencing in this video, the Hall of Fame of horror, like would it not need to have all the different visual themes, or as many of them as possible? Oh, get up on that light, Mr. Sir. Come sit with me, since you're going to be breaking things.
Scarechant, which I don't even believe that we should defend, because Scarechant compared to Trickster is Dredge compared to fucking Animal Crossing characters or something, like in terms of proportion. Because Scarechant is a prime example of something called techno horror, or I didn't really find an exact name, so I'll quote Pixelbush here. A subgenre of horror dedicated to rich assholes living out a sadistic power fantasy on their victims. Scarechant, Adriana Imai is literally described by this sentence. So even after design, even if the design isn't really scary, you can see that they tried to make a slasher out of Scarechant. And even in the lore, Adriana is like living out a power fantasy of her father's manga and is taking out companies in hostile takeovers. You know, saying that Tools of Torment
that's the part of it that's ick.
At least trying to be horror is saying that Dredge isn't horror, for example. I know it's a big example, but trust me, I'm annoyed with people that are defending.
I feel like either or would have been fine, but together they're an issue. What? Do you really want to take down the standing lamp that badly? Dad, let me go. I have destruction to carry out. I have destruction to carry out, Father. It is on my list. Okay, yeah, this is Will. Well, we have an emote of him. Oop. He's about a year old. He's a black tabby. We love him to death. He's my boy, my son, my little menace. All right, go break things. Actually, please. I feel like either or of these concepts would have like been tonally like interesting. Like, oh, the opulent CEO by day, murderer by night. Like that's cool, right? That's neat. I feel like somebody who reads a little bit too much manga and gets really invested into this character and tries to cosplay them, despite them being a murderer, is cool on its own. The idea of someone of Skull Merchant's immense opulence just being like, oh, well, cool, a manga character, I'm gonna cosplay and kill people. It's like, it's the marriage of the two that's kind of weird, you know? It's like, it just doesn't seem like it fits. That's just me.
Your opinion based on Scarechant and Trickster, because these are just prime examples of homages to tropes in horror movies and series and video games and all that. So what are you trying to prove by that? Now let's move on why DBD is fine with adding D&D to its Hall of Fame. I think I don't need to explain it that D&D is literally what you make of it. You can make any kind of story with D&D. I'm not a D&D person myself, but from what I read on the internet, you can like make any kind of adventure.
Well, if you read it on the internet, so it's
true. If you're creative enough. Looking at the cast of characters, specifically monsters in the D&D universe, I think it's safe to say that DBD is fine with adding D&D as a horror license, or a horror adjacent license. It's no-brainer that monsters equal scary and horror, you know? And even if the entity is known for taking people that would be scary in a horror setting, like let's take Wraith and make him a slasher in a horror movie. That would fall under horror. I wouldn't judge if it would be scary or not, but in an objective setting it would be horror, and it would be able to take survivors that would be able to fit this role in a horror movie. Nicolas Cage is a prime example of that, because he's literally an actor. He played in horror movies, even though he played in some really bad ones like Willy's Wonderland, but let's not mention it. I don't think he wants to remember that. And my brother in Christ, open your head out. Don't complain that a license got in, especially like D&D. Do you know how massive D&D is? Like, D&D is one of the biggest things in society, in my opinion, because wherever you go, whatever kind of media you will go, there's something that D&D influenced. And a prime example of that is Stranger Things. The series begins with a D&D game. Demogorgon, Vecna, all of these are based on D&D characters. Dude, we should be happy that D&D is coming to DBD in any form, not be sad that it's...
This is what I've said about the FNAF thing, right? Like, FNAF coming to the game would mean we'd have to interact with the FNAF community, which is scary. A lot of them are very volatile, we will say. But you imagine the success that would bring to Dead by Daylight? You know how successful that would be? That would make bank. Absolute bank. Absolute bank. Yo, Chosen, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that, friend. Hope you're doing well today, son. I make absolute bank. That would be so good for the future of the game to have that. That'd be super hype. And I can put away my own feelings about, like, oh, how I feel about this. I understand that would be good for the game.
Coming as a chapter. Even as a cosmetic collection, it would be gigantic. Because there's already people that are talking that their co-workers at work are looking to check out DBD because of this chapter. So
videos every day. That's what we're recording right now.
Point in negativity that, oh, this chapter is taking a license that isn't specifically horror. Shut the fuck up, please. D&D is massive. Let's celebrate that DBD reaching for higher and higher names. We got Chucky, we got Alien, we got Halloween, we have Stranger Things, we have a bad remake of A Nightmare on Elm, but still, we got Saw. At this point, I think that behavior is not even reaching out to license holders. I think the license holders are actually reaching out to DBD and behaviors add their properties into the game. That would be realistic, because I don't know if I make a video on it, but I personally think that Dead by Daylight is the biggest horror IP at the moment. Because most of the classic horror franchises are either dead in the water or they are not succeeding. The only succeeding franchises I can think of is Alien, Saw, and Child's Play. Because I recently didn't hear any successes from other classics. Maybe Scream can also count as a successful horror classic that's still thriving. But I didn't watch every single Scream movie. I only watched like the first movie and a bit of 2, which I'm planning to fix my mistake by watching the Scream 2 and other films. But I don't think that a franchise which is making sequels after sequels, getting into controversies, is making an 8th sequel, I think, is going to thrive off that hype soon. Because look what happened to Friday the 13th. It's dead in the water. A fan-made project to revive Friday the 13th the game.
But alas, suddenly, from the shadows emerges hope.
Is that
not actually
because Victor Miller or Short whoever even owns that franchise wants to sit on their license and do nothing with it, and nobody, even non-commercially, can use it because they're
but alas, the tides have changed, and soon he will be among us.
Stubborn to even use the license themselves. I don't even know if the series is coming out at this point. I don't think it will be, but surprise me, I guess. Now, the last part of the video is about how D&D will broaden the horizons of DBD licensing, because, as I said earlier, D&D is massive, and the fact that it's finally showing us that behavior is broadening its horizons on horror-adjacent licenses as chapters and not as cosmetic collections, it gives us so much potential. Like, for example, we can have Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, Portal from Valve, even, I don't know if it will be a free chapter, but I'm praying that Valve would make an exception, for example with Black Mesa, like they did, or Bridge Constructor Portal. I'm hoping for that. I have a full Portal chapter coming up soon. A beta version of this concept will be coming out soon on my Twitter and maybe on YouTube too, so a bit of self-advertising, but listen, D&D is massive for behavior, and whoever is telling you that it's a sleeper, that you shouldn't get excited because it's non-specifically horror, they should shut the fuck up. Open up your head. Please be happy that we are getting such a big license, that we can get even other licenses that can be turned into horror by behavior. Look what they did with Nicolas Cage.
No, you're the survivor, I'm the killer. Because you're the one dropping, not the pallets, but everything in this room. Drop the lamps, drops the box fan, which scares me. Drops all the things back on the shelf.
Like that can be turned horror. But I guess they did it with
He's
Nicolas Cage.
Hey,
it's stupid, but it worked.
I was joking.
So
quit it.
Be happy that D&D is coming.
He's like, oh, you mean like
Open
this?
Open up your head for possible licenses that are coming up.
No,
I hope you
don't
enjoyed the chapter. I'll see you on PTB Day, most likely on Twitch. Maybe I'll pull out a video of the VOD. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like, comment, or dislike, whatever. Subscribe to the channel, talk about the chapter in the comments, I will surely reply to them. And yeah, I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon.
I'm back. Goodbye, internet.
Flashbang! Flashbang. Yeah, I feel like like I said, I feel like, you know, it's like Scooby-Doo, where it's like, Mr. Jenkins, it was you all along, and I would have got away with it too. It's like, you know, they rip off the mask in Scooby-Doo, and they're like, oh my gosh, it was you all along. I feel like the argument is, it doesn't fit DBD, but then like, you rip the mask off, and it's like, I didn't get the chapter I wanted. I wanted Candyman, I wanted Jason, I wanted Springtrap. I wanted something else. It doesn't have to be something specific. It's just like, I wanted something different than this. You're like, okay. Yeah. I didn't get Scooby-Doo. It's ridiculous. Like it's a nothing burger, but people just like really out it out as something that like has substance. It's a nothing burger. Does not matter. Remember Zombie Island? That movie traumatized me. Imagine going from like the really cozy old Scooby-Doo like episodes, and then like the anime movies they did that like we're not talking like the big Hollywood ones. We're talking like the Ghoul School, like the 1 hour special, you know, like going from that to Zombie Island was traumatizing. Like actually like very subtly horror, which I was like, oh, I like scary stuff in Halloween, but like, oh my god. Like, actually traumatizing his own child. Yeah, it's a nothing burger. Don't pay attention to people saying this, because like, unless they literally, like, I feel like they, like, something that would be like way off. Like, see, like, because this is what we're talking about. This is the fake argument. It's like, it doesn't fit Dead by Daylight. Like, if they put like Peppa Pig into Dead by Daylight, I'd be like, what the hell is happening? Who let this bacon in the room? Like, like, why is Peppa Pig in Dead by Daylight? I'd be super confused, right? I would say don't put Paw Patrol in the game, but we have that Jeff mask, so they kind of already did. But why, if they put Peppa Pig in the game, I'd be like, why is a children's entertainment character in this game? What is happening? That's what I would be like, okay, what is this doing here? But people try to exaggerate that and be like, oh wow, see, look, this doesn't fit at all. It's like, no, it's not that bad. Yeah, it's like people are making a mountain out of a molehill. So I would not pay them any mind. I wouldn't get up in arms about it. It's a stretch, so don't worry about it. Taylor Swift, you know, with her carbon footprint, she's certainly a horror movie character for the environment. Or are you typing? Stop it! Hey, quit. Come here. You will be restrained. Since you are on a path of destruction. Yeah, I think like people just are stretching. It's not a big. No, don't squirm. No. You had free reign, and you chose to use that free reign for destruction. Now you must be in hug jail. Yeah, you're in air jail time. You are now in air jail. You gotta be trusted with your own agency. You used it for evil. So now you must be here. No, you're not very happy about it. You know what I'm not happy about? Constantly worrying about that lamp falling over every 2 seconds because you're yoinking at things, then getting up on the keyboard. Yeah, TLDR. It's a nothing burger when people complain about that. Don't worry about it. Don't give it credence. There's nothing there. Unless there's something really dramatic like them dropping Peppa Pig into the game, I think we're good. Even you would fit better. Okay? You would fit in Dead by Daylight.